Hey everyone, welcome back! My name is 3PO and I am ecstatic to tell you that Force Combat, the fan-made Star Wars fighting game, has officially released its beta after 4 long years of development time. To give a brief reminder, since it has been a bit, Force Combat is a fan-made Star Wars fighting game inspired by the hit American fighting game franchise Mortal Kombat, made by one man with limited outside help, LastJawa. Now, Star Wars has had a singular fighting game before in the form of Masters of Teräs Käsi, but this game was famous for being considered one of the worst fighting games of all time. It featured incredibly easy infinites, a pointless weapon mode, and had its roster limited to the original trilogy due to when it came out. It's obvious that while the concept was sound, the execution was not. Because of the failure of Teräs Käsi, Star Wars has never ventured into the fighting game genre officially again. Enter Force Combat, which includes characters from the entire spectrum of the universe, including the newer movies, animated content, and previously non-canon Legends material. There's something here for any and all Star Wars fans, regardless of what era you enjoy. Longtime viewers might remember that before Evil Dead the game, I actually got my start uploading videos on Force Combat. They're all pretty low quality, and the ones that I speak over showcase how bad of a mic I used to have, but I'm still quite happy with all the content I made on the game back in 2019 to 2020. Over the past 4 years, not only have I managed the Discord for the game, gave a lot of tips and small notes to the developer, ran the online community for the Revenge of the Sith duel mode from 2005, but I've also completed my undergraduate degree. It's safe to say that since the game's last update in 2020, it's been quite a bit of time since us fans have been able to sink our teeth into some new characters, stages, and tower story modes. So imagine my surprise when on April 28th, LastJawa surprises literally everyone on his Patreon by dropping the early builds of the beta for us to test. And yes, that is my name in the credits. I took this build as my review copy and decided what better way to return after so long than with an in-depth review of the beta. I now have much more experience with the fighting game genre, and I played so much of the early alpha builds, so I think I'm in a pretty good position to give a proper review of the beta and decide if it was worth the wait. If you enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like and comment down below what you all think of the brand new beta build, and if you'll be downloading it. Reminder, this is on PC only, but it is free, so if you can, make sure you go and download it in the description below. With all that being said, it's finally time to take a look at the full release of Force Combat's beta build. The first thing I have to note is just how good the menu and UI look now. You might remember, in the alphas it featured a very bare bones menu with generic white text and a singular background of Palpatine's throne room with his accompanying theme as the score. While it was cool, it was also incredibly clunky with a very dark feeling, which wasn't very indicative of the overall experience. This has now been replaced with a much slicker main title screen and a heavily improved main menu. You can see it has all of the modes on the left, while some different planets from the Star Wars saga are featured on the right. You can keep going back to the title screen and main menu to see a bunch of different stages, including the Death Star, Hoth, and Dagobah. I really love this new menu a lot. It feels so much more indicative of what this game is, a celebration of the entire franchise. You can still randomly get the throne room setting of course, but having so many other colorful landscapes pop up, all with moving and breathing NPCs, not only give it more life, but also make it feel much grander in its scope. Modes have also been expanded. Along with the standard versus, training, credits, and options mode, we have a few extra to talk about. First up is Path of the Force, which returns from the alphas. This is essentially an arcade mode where you can unlock new characters and skins by accomplishing certain goals. We also have the movie towers returning, along with the brand new TV towers. Originally in past alphas, the movie towers worked as a proto-story mode where you could play through the events of the Star Wars films on either the light side or the dark side. The TV towers function similarly and let you play through the events of different seasons of your favorite Star Wars shows. I'll expand on the towers a bit later into the video. And for the final mode, online is back again, but since this is a review copy, I currently can't test it. I'll try and get something out properly testing the mode once the beta is released to the public. But modes can only do so much for a fighting game. I think it's time we focus on what everyone is curious about: the roster. Now, the original roster of Force Combat last we left off was nothing to scoff at, with 22 characters in total. That's a very impressive count for a free fan-made game, but this update basically blows this number completely out of the water, with a whopping 42 playable characters, almost double what was in the previous build. Now, you won't be able to play any of the new characters right from the get-go. They all must be unlocked by playing the Path of the Force mode. You'll find that this is a game that wears its unlockables on its sleeve, with every single character now having at least 4 or more skins, with all but their default having to be unlocked by playing Path of the Force on different difficulties. To start unlocking characters, you simply have to play Asajj Ventress on normal and then go in order of who you unlock. After unlocking the first character, you then play them in order to unlock the next, and so on. I really like this unlock system, as most fighting games don't offer a whole lot of single-player content, since a majority of the diehard fanbase would be online. However, there is plenty for more casual fans to unlock and progress through, so I think there'll be lots of reason to keep playing this past a few hours. Now, let's go over the entire roster. It consists of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Rey Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, Anakin Skywalker, Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano, The Inquisitorius, Satele Shan, Darth Malgus, Moff Gideon, Starkiller, Mara Jade, Master Yoda, General Grievous, Leia Organa, and Kyle Katarn, all being present from the original build. The new characters consist of Thok, Bastila Shan, Han Solo, Boba Fett, Darth Revan, Kir Kanos, Dark Luke Skywalker, Finn, Qui-Gon Jinn, a Magna Guard, Empress Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, Savage Opress, a Dark Trooper, Cal Kestis, Plo Koon, Darth Malak, Darth Talon, Fennec Shand, and as the sole guest character, Indiana Jones. This is an absolutely stacked roster. The new characters consist of a lot of highly requested picks such as Qui-Gon, Cal, and Plo, but also a lot of stranger picks that every fighting game needs, like the returning character from Teräs Käsi Thok, or having the dark version of Luke that's in Yoda's cave from Empire Strikes Back. Also, each character now has a neat animation upon being selected. A small touch, but it adds a bit more of that polish, you know? The skins for each of the characters are also very extensive. I'm not going to go over every single skin, since otherwise we would be here all day, but just know that there are loads of them, and they are filled with so many little references and callbacks that will make any Star Wars fan happy. Speaking of references, I have lost count on how many stages have been added. We've now got at least 3 from every single Star Wars movie and TV show. Even the hangar from Obi-Wan Kenobi makes an appearance. There's legitimately so many options to pick from now. I doubt even after a week I've played on every single stage. Certain stages do, unfortunately, give some pretty bad frame drops, but a majority run buttery smooth and are extremely cool to see. I really love that there is such a variety of stages, since so many other fighting games seem to lack in that department. That's all great and dandy, but the real question is, how is the gameplay? As much as I love Force Combat, the thing it struggled with most was, of course, its gameplay. While it boasted a large roster in the early alphas, there was barely any combo pathing for a majority of its cast, and at times it felt incredibly spammy. Some characters could even grab while they're attacking for a true, inescapable, unscaled combo. Go look at any of my early movie tower playthroughs and you can see how my game plan mostly consisted of spam the same combo over and over again and cheese the bosses. You'll be happy to know that the new combat feels really, really good. A majority of the cast have been updated with tuned animations that really fit with how they fought in the movies. Luke, for instance, in the alphas was an extremely fast character that had near unreactable startup buttons and insane block pressure. It didn't quite fit his more weighty but powerful style from Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. But in the beta, all of Luke's swings and specials have the proper impact that they should. Each move is slower, but not only does this match how Luke fights in the films, it also gives each swing a proper amount of weight and strength. In the alpha, these swings look like they're swatting at a fly. In the beta, these look like he's putting his all into each slash. Every character has small updates like this that just make the combat slashes and other basic attacks feel so good. Special moves have also been changed slightly, the biggest being that ranged attacks like force pushes or blaster shots no longer cost any meter, meaning that not only has combo potential opened up massively, but the balance of the game has also shifted. A big thing to note is that now any and all characters can easily duck over any ranged attacks regardless of their size, so you don't have to worry about being overzoned. There are universal ways around it. Combo Ender and Extender special moves do still take meter, though they are much less dependent than they used to be. It's much less of a meter drain than before, and because of that, it leaves you open for some longer combo pathing. Force Lightning also now reaches incredibly far and works as an easy push option. For the characters that have it like Kyle Katarn or Count Dooku, this is a massive deal since they had problems with spacing and distance. A thing to note is that it can now be ducked over, so be careful to only use it on block strings. Characters like Darth Vader, Count Dooku, and Darth Malgus, who originally only had standing attacks and 0 crouch options, can now all crouch and have crouch attacks, meaning their combo potential opened up immensely. They also all have much better movement in the air, making each of them feel far more complete. Darth Vader in particular has been completely reworked with a brand new moveset that feels as powerful and aggressive as Vader should be. It feels really good to say that Darth Vader is no longer a D tier character. You can now no longer spam your dash, which is something that I took massive advantage of in the early versions of the game. Some moves can actually be dash cancelled like Mace Windu's Heavy Slash, but this is a character by character situation. These changes make combat feel a lot less spammy and aggressive, since you can't run to the other side of the screen in a second to apply more pressure with a character that realistically should not be able to do that. Parrying has been completely fixed. Now if you time it correctly, pressing forward at the exact time a move will connect will parry it and give you a set amount of bar back. It's still incredibly difficult to do, like any parry should be, and you will be struggling on things that are not a projectile, but it is a piece of tech that will now consistently work. Remember though that in this game, parries do not slow down the enemy, meaning that if they're doing a multi-hit special, you'll have to parry the entire animation. The grab has been reworked so that you can no longer grab while in the middle of any combo, meaning that frame locks and inescapable unscaled grab combos are no longer possible. This was a much needed change that really helps the game feel less mind-numbing and requires the player to think a lot more about their block advantage when applying pressure. You can still grab out of certain block strings with a few members of the cast, so be careful that you know when to duck when this happens. But the biggest addition is undoubtedly the Combo Breaker, a new universal mechanic that can break an enemy's combo. To use it, you simply have to press the block button and hold forward while you're being attacked with a full power bar. Once you do this, you'll spend the bar and a unique animation will play depending on the character, launching the attacker full screen. However, you can only use this once per round, so make sure you save it for when you need it most. This is probably one of the best gameplay changes universally, as early in the alpha, it was pretty much agreed upon by everyone that we really needed a way to get screen advantage when we're being backed into a corner. This is a pretty standard way to do a combo breaker, but I think in the future this will be an incredibly useful mechanic when it comes to last minute saves or escaping heavy rushdown. One thing that I do hope will come in future updates to the game is the addition of a back grab. Currently, you only have a singular direction to grab the opponent, meaning that if you're in the corner and you land a cheeky grab, there is no way to change up your situation and get a proper advantage from your punish. Some characters do have grabs that throw the enemy to the other side of the screen, but you can't consistently choose where you want the enemy to go with your advantage. There is also still no consistent grab breaks, which is something else I think the game could really benefit from adding. I managed to somehow escape grabs a couple times while I was playing, but I still have no idea how I did this. While the grabs are a bit easier to react to than before, being rewarded for catching the grab in time would be incredibly useful. This just leaves the combo pathing, which I'm incredibly happy to say is the best it's ever been. Don't get me wrong, it's still not to the level of a high-budget fighting game, but there is so much more stuff you can now do that was not present in the old versions. For example, you can now catch Mace's kicks mid-combo if you get the timing perfect. It's not a true infinite since the timing is specific and the spacing makes it so it drops after the second time, but it was the first change where I noticed that this is not the same game. Luke's B&B is back after being lost in the last alpha, which is a lovely surprise. You can now even extend it in the corner with meterless force pushes. Characters like Kylo Ren also get a whole lot more compared to his extremely bare-bones moveset he used to have, and even Moff Gideon gets some love with a faster blaster shot and recovery, meaning he can now place it at the end of his combos. Combos in general feel much more creative and again, super thought-provoking instead of the mindless mashing you'd see in the alphas. Overall, the gameplay just feels incredibly polished and refined compared to what it used to be. I'll be honest, I was completely ready to tear into the beta if there weren't some major changes made, as the gameplay was my biggest gripe with the earlier versions. Yet it really did go beyond all my expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. Of course, it's not perfect, and the notes I had on grabs would be incredibly beneficial for future updates, but I don't really have much else to critique when it comes to the flow of combat. With some testing and balance changes, this is well on its way to being feasible at tournaments like Combo Breaker. Before we talk a bit about the new characters, I want to highlight the new TV Towers mode, which features 4 new towers to go through. They function identically to the movie towers, where you play through different iconic fights from the Star Wars franchise. Between fights, there are images taken from each show to describe the prologue and epilogue to each. They're just screenshots, but it's nice to have some in-between flavor text. You have 2 towers devoted to the Clone Wars on the light and dark side respectively, as well as 2 towers devoted to the Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2. At the far end, you can also see 2 towers that have yet to be completed, the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This basically confirms that, yes, more towers are in development and will most likely come with new characters. The Clone Wars towers are really fun to go through, but the most interesting thing about them is the addition of exclusive characters to play as, consisting of Aura Singh, Quinlan Vos, Cad Bane, and Barriss Offee. However, unlike in the movie towers, these characters do not have their own movesets and are simple skins over other characters that already exist on the roster. Aura uses Fennec's moves, Cad Bane uses Han Solo's, Quinlan uses Mace Windu's, and Barriss uses Asajj Ventress's. Regardless, this is still incredibly cool to see and hopefully foreshadows a couple of these characters coming in future updates. My money is on Cad Bane, since while the others are popular, they are limited in moveset potential. The Mandalorian towers are a tad different, because there's no dark side variants to go through, which does make sense since all of the opponents you face are just random jobbers using other characters' movesets. There'd be no point to play as them. Speaking of which, I hope you like playing as the Mandalorian or have been itching to learn him, because he's the primary character you'll be fighting as in these towers. Paz Vizsla gets a playable appearance during one of the Season 1 fights, and you do get even more in Season 2, but by far the biggest surprise of all was getting to play as Grogu. Yeah, you actually get to play as Baby Yoda for a couple of fights. Granted, he has no basic attacks and only 3 specials against pretty basic enemies, but it's super cool to be able to play as him, especially considering how a lot of the Mandalorian show's success can be attributed to Grogu and the explosion of popularity Baby Yoda had. Obviously, he'll never be playable in the main game, but for some special event fights, he's pretty charming. Now, it's time to go over each new playable character. First up, we got the big headliner, Han Solo. Han was someone I was worried about upon his reveal, since early Alpha Mando was a zoning machine. Who's to say Han wouldn't be as well? Upon playing him, however, Han's real game plan becomes way more apparent. While he does have the tools to zone, he's built to be a run-and gunner, dashing in for pretty decent combo damage with his shoulder charge and very good basic buttons. If you're still worried about his zoning, however, you always have the power of ducking. None of his shots hit low, so he won't be that zoning menace that Mando was. Regardless, Han is not nearly as much of an annoying zoner as I thought he'd be, and I'm really happy to see it. Fun fact, I was actually the one to recommend using the energy shield so Han could block, a while before the Mandalorian popularized them. Pretty neat, huh? Boba Fett, on the other hand, is built like a true-blood proper zoner, with his wrist and knee rockets making up a majority of his moveset paired with his very annoying double jump. He does have some combos you can do if you find a way to fit them in your game plan, but the moment he's ripped from the sky, he has very little tools to take you on. He's definitely meant to be a bit riskier and relies a lot on your knowledge of who you're fighting, so fair warning if you want to learn him. Overall though, he is fun and deserved the hype he was given. Bastila Shan is a really interesting character. Unlike the majority of the cast, she's the first to introduce having 2 smart combo strings instead of just 1. Her double-sided lightsaber gives her a lot of block pressure, and all of her moves can combo together quite nicely. She definitely feels like an all-rounder who's basically good at everything. Good damage, good buttons, good specials, and a really powerful ranged move. The Force Bomb can be easily looped in the corner with her uppercut for high combo damage, and a lot of her basic buttons offer her plenty of setup advantage. Overall, a really strong character. Darth Revan was a character we knew was coming for a good while now. Longtime viewers might remember the interview I had with his voice actor for this game, Brian Watts, which you can go and find the link for in the description. Similar to Bastilla, he also has 2 smart combos, though a big thing about him is that you can actually cancel your specials mid-combo string, something many other characters lack. This means that Revan is a damage machine when you cancel your combo, throw in a lightsaber rise, and combo into one of his 2 leap attacks. He also has a unique grab that does very little damage, but heals him as an effect. I'm unsure how good he is just yet, but I can already tell he's gonna be a favorite of mine to play. Kurkanos was, truthfully, a character I've never heard of before he popped up in Force Combat, but after playing him, I might be a bigger fan than I thought. Kur in Legends was best known as one of Palpatine's best Imperial guards wielding a lightsaber pike, and that definitely translates here. Kur's smart combo is extremely fast, powerful, and can combo into any of his specials. He has 3 combo chain related specials that can deal tons of extra damage, with one even launching in the corner so you can continue stacking damage. He also has a unique mechanic where you can call a probe droid to shoot at an enemy. Once it's out, it will follow you all around the map. You can do a different input in order for it to rush at the enemy and self-destruct on impact as well. On top of that, Kur's grab might also just be my all-time favorite in the game. I gotta tell you, this guy is so much fun to play. Thok is a weird character to talk about for certain. I'm sure every Teräs Kasai player was delighted to see him cameo in the Return of the Jedi movie tower back in the early alphas. But in the beta, he's been upgraded to a full character, making him the sole character from Teräs Kasai to return as a legacy character in another Star Wars fighting game. There is another that was introduced in Teräs Kasai, but we don't talk about him much. Thok's main game plan revolves around his Gamorrean Fire. Basically every special in his moveset utilizes it, except for a basic axe throw projectile and a move that increases his size and makes him deal more damage until he's hit. He also has only one crouching attack, that being the uppercut, but he already has a handful of specials that can hit low, so you don't have to worry when it comes to his mix-up game. With what I played, he deals pretty low damage, but I'm certain people will find a way to properly cook with him. On the other hand, Qui-Gon Jinn is something everyone expected. After he was teased in the movie towers as a clone of Obi-Wan, it only made sense to eventually add Qui-Gon as his own separate playable character, and to everyone's joy, he has finally made the roster. Qui-Gon is no longer an Obi-Wan clone, and instead sports a very Ataru-centered fighting style, utilizing quick swipes and mixing in force moves in his basic attacks along with an easy special move to help him combo in the corner. Something special to Qui-Gon is his ability to summon animals to help him in the fight. You might recognize them as the same ones that Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme fight on Geonosis. Overall, he is a very fun character. Honestly, he might even be a very early A tier. All of his specials flow so well together, and I had a blast playing as him. Savage Opress did make sense to eventually come to the game. He was a major character in the Clone Wars, and honestly, I kinda love the way he was adapted gameplay-wise. Savage isn't a pure rushdown like his brother, and instead has a mixture of restand and block pressure related moves. He can spin around with his saber horizontally to clear distance and continue combos, and also features his spear, which can stick enemies to the ground to allow for combos afterward. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised at how well he was adapted, especially considering how he and Maul are compared, but luckily they do play incredibly different. Chancellor Palpatine also finally joins the roster, marking the first time Palpatine has been playable in the game. While Emperor Palpatine has been the big boss since the first build, he's never actually been playable, and still isn't. Chancellor Palpatine, however, was a playable character in movie towers in the alpha, but he was just a clone of Mace Windu. Similar to Thok, he has been upgraded to fully playable. He has no kicks, but truthfully, he does not need them. Palpatine's main smart combo is unique in the fact that, unlike the others, it actually launches on the final hit, meaning you can easily combo any of your special moves regardless of how fast they are. His second smart combo also pushes him to mid-screen extremely quick, making him a menace at any range. Pair that with his Force Lightning and his extremely fast dash, and you have a character that's worthy to be called a playable boss character. Finn being here is truly a dream come true. For those unaware, back in 2020, I hosted a poll for the most requested characters to come to Force Combat. This consisted of Mace Windu at the top, then Darth Revan, Qui-Gon Jinn, Bastila Shan, and Finn as runner-ups. Now with this update, all of the top 5 most wanted fighters from that poll have joined. Finn combines his moveset from Battlefront 2 alongside some Force moves that he should have had in the actual movies. I love how he was given a combo ender titled Rise of the Resistance, like the ride at Disney. It's a cute reference. He has a lot of those same run and gun attributes like Han, but because of his saber combos, he does way more damage up close, making him a threat at all ranges. It's really fun to rush in with his crack shot and deal consistent damage at long range. A solid pick to be sure. Empress Palpatine was a character that kinda made sense to eventually pop into the roster. Let's face it, the sequel trilogy is lacking in a lot of duelists. Adding in Dark Rey from Rey's Vision was a really cool choice, and I'll be honest, I really like her playstyle. She doesn't really fold her lightsaber that much, but she features a lot of multi-hit moves and a fair bit of lightning attacks. Her grab is also incredibly brutal, yikes. A cool little extra thing is that 2 of her alternate skins are actually from the scrapped Duel of the Fates script of The Rise of Skywalker, where Rey has a double-sided blue lightsaber. I just find that really cool. Dark Luke was not a character I expected to come, I'll be honest. Keep in mind, this is not Luke Skywalker, the clone from Star Wars Legends. This is the vision of Luke in the Darth Vader suit from Empire Strikes Back, though that's been converted to a skin while all of Dark Luke's moveset is completely original. He has a lot of dark energy related attacks, including the ability to create an area of dark fire and throwing dark pulses. He's definitely meant to be more of a setup character, with his fire being easy to block and impossible to combo into, but it does allow for some cheeky frame traps. With Darth Vader being counted as a Dark Anakin, we now have 3 dark versions of the main protagonists. The Dark Trooper is weird. It's very weird. I think he's supposed to be a mixture of a zoner and a brawler, but its moves feel off. It's got a shoulder charge, a blaster shot, and a volley of shots, but none of them really combo well together. It just feels like he's missing something. Maybe a big uppercut special that can launch? Something like that would help his moveset immensely. I'm glad we have him as a pretty different fighter, but right now his cool status doesn't save him from being off. The Magna Guard, on the other hand, feels incredible. It's acrobatic, it has a lot of sweeping attacks, and its specials complement its game plan. A staff throw that acts as a projectile, a staff stun that keeps you in place so the combo can keep going, and an uppercut move to end your big combos. On top of that, good basic buttons, good kicks, and a good grab, overall making it feel super fluid. I love playing as this thing, it's just so satisfying. I really hope we get more staff-based characters like Hondo if they'll feel as good as the Magna Guard. Darth Malak from Knights of the Old Republic 2 has also made his way into the game. He has a lot of insanely good normals and smart combos, but the big thing about his moveset is his red lightning field, which surrounds him like an orb and can combo after any of his strings, putting the enemy close to him, which can give him the frame advantage. He's got a fair bit of tech with this that I'm certain the community will break apart faster than you can believe, and I can't wait to see what gets cooked up. Darth Talon has been upgraded from a secret boss into a fully playable character, and now she is so much more than an OP Mara Jade clone. Talon has a variety of good buttons, decent damage, but most importantly, super useful specials. Her Rubble Toss returns from Mara Jade, but don't get too excited since without the super fast dashes, you can't volley tons of damage like you used to. But this is made up for with another move where she arcs her lightning off the floor and into the air at an angle, which can help carry the enemy upwards and continue certain combos. Pair this with a good lightning burst for block pressure and a rushing set of slashes to deal damage. Talon is now just as scary as she was when she was a boss, but now with her own moves to boot. Plo Koon might just be my absolute favorite new character to play, since he's actually a combination of his canon and Legends appearances. Force Judgment is back with a version that launches and another that shoots straight forward, making his combo potential off the charts. He's one of the only characters to have a smart combo built into his kicks, which gives him a lot more combo freedom. The lightsaber gauntlet featured on certain Star Wars toys returns as his block and his grab, and he even has both of his saber combo finishers reference certain moves he pulled off in the Clone Wars cartoon. Overall, this could probably be called the definitive version of Plo that has everything that any fan of the character would want. I can't wait to experiment with him more. Fennec Shand wasn't someone I was particularly excited to play since I thought she was just going to be another basic zoner, but what I found instead is what's essentially the katana of this game. Fennec has unique normals that work as mini smart combos that utilize her assassin techniques she showed off in the Book of Boba Fett. Her sniper makes it so her ranged attacks are a bit higher up, making them easier to duck. This means that her basic rifle shot functions more as a simple combo ender. She also has a pair of bolas, which stun the enemy and keep them in place for a potential full combo if you know what you're doing. She was surprisingly really enjoyable to play and gave me a bit of what I was hoping for in a brawler with some zoning attributes. Cal Kestis is probably the most hyped up character for this update, as his games have gotten fairly popular since this game started its development. I'm happy to say not only is Cal extremely fun with his combo potential and moves, but is also the most accurate out of the entire cast. You see, all of Cal's attack animations are directly ripped from Jedi Fallen Order and repurposed with different frame data and combo potential for this game. It's almost like how Super Smash Bros. Takes the character's moves and animations and repurposed them for its gameplay. The same has been done here for Cal, and he has everything you'd want him to have from Fallen Order. His overhead slash, his split saber dash, the ability to swap from single to double blade, he even has the healing stim. I know I've said this a few times, but Cal might legitimately be one of my favorite characters to play. He feels so fluid, and the animations from Fallen Order work so well in this game's systems. I hope this means we could see some other characters with their animations from Fallen Order and Survivor in the future. And finally, for the list of new characters, we have probably the most surprising of all, Indiana Jones. I remember when Jawa was first teasing him a couple years ago, and I was absolutely stoked. For those who don't know, Indy was a secret unlockable character in the LEGO Star Wars Complete Saga game from when I was growing up. So having him here as the final secret unlock for the beta, calling back to that awesome secret from my childhood, is absolutely incredible. I recommended to have Indy block with the Sun Staff, which actually made a couple cameos in the Clone Wars and did make it into his gameplay, but other than that, I had no idea how Indy was going to play. And now I know. Awesomely. His smart combos utilize his brawler skills and whip attacks to give him good distance at long or short range. He uses his whip in combination with his pistol in sick combo enders and grabs. And he even pulls out a Tommy gun for some extra zoning, which is smartly named Don't Call Me Junior. Honestly, I love this character, and I can already tell he's going to be insanely fun to play in future tournaments. Kudos to you, Jawa, you did so well. Now, we did cover all the new characters, but there is one major rework that I wanted to highlight in detail. Darth Vader was very famously the worst character in the early alphas. His buttons were terrible, he couldn't crouch, he only had 2 special moves, and his grab did incredibly little damage and pushed the enemy far away. I know that this was originally done to make him play more like a boss character, but the problem is, he wasn't. Vader was a fully playable character that functioned like a boss, yet lacks the damage of a boss and could not do most of the things that other characters could do. He was never really played online or when I played with others because of this. However, in the beta, Darth Vader has gotten a complete rework. The biggest thing you'll notice about him now are his brand new attack animations. Like most of the new characters, he has 2 smart combos which are short but sync up well with his specials. His uppercut also has a unique animation that lets it be easily looped with combos in the corner as well. He still has his lightsaber throw and Darkness Rising specials, however he also gained 2 brand new specials. Culling Blade, a reference to his Battlefront move, which is a combo ender that ends in a launch you can combo after, and a Rebel Throw, referencing his fight with Luke in Empire Strikes Back, which, if it lands, can be comboed from full screen with his lightsaber toss. Overall, he feels much better now. He's not an absolutely ridiculously powerful character, at least from first impressions, but he feels incredibly solid compared to how he used to play. He feels like an actual threat at any distance, and his screen control is insane. I want to experiment with him more, but for right now, just know Darth Vader has been properly fixed. Now, if we could get serious for a moment, there is one last thing that I wanted to cover with this game because you all deserve to know. Its usage of AI art and AI voices. I know that's a big issue in the creative space, but please hear how it's incorporated before you make any final decisions. The Path of the Force arcade mode now features character-specific endings, meaning depending on who you play, you will get an ending tailored to them. The thing is, all of these endings use AI art for their visuals. On top of this, a handful of characters do have AI-created speech for their intros and round-win animations, but from what I know, all of their grunts and everything else is taken from official media. Let me be clear, I do not support the usage of AI art or AI voices without the consent of the original actor in any commercial sense. As a voice actor myself with artist friends, this is a bit personal to me. Having a machine do the work you can do, much worse, by the way, is something I'll never agree to. That's the thing though. This is not a commercial game. Force Combat is a fan-made Star Wars fighting game. LastJawa is not selling this product to financial gain. While I and many others would obviously like for the art to be made by a proper artist and for proper voice actors to be cast in the roles needed, this game is being developed by one man with limited help from his kids and suggestions by fans. After getting to know him, it doesn't feel like he's doing this with malicious intent. He just wanted to give people a fun fighting game with a bit more polish. I do personally believe that these should be removed, however. You could accomplish the same thing by either A, asking actual artists to use their art in the game, or B, using previously official assets from past Star Wars projects and editing them to showcase your ideas in those character endings. As for the voices, just use Casting Call Club to find some VAs who would do it for free, or if you want, put down a few bucks to see if more will be interested. I promise that there will be many Star Wars fans who can do a great impression of most of the cast that would love to be in the game. With all this being said, I do recommend you go and play this game after everything because, again, it's a really fun game. It's not made for profit and it's just made for Star Wars fans to have a good time, so I hope you'll all enjoy it. And once over, Jawa didn't do this with malice. The game is still incredibly good and worth your time. Trust me, please go check it out. Alright, let's get back to the fun stuff. It's time for my final thoughts. As I said before, it's been quite a while since my last video on this game. Years, in fact. I've also had plenty of experience with other fighting games now, so I think I can be a better judge. I also want to say that my plan with this whole video was to be honest to you all. I was ready to tear this game apart if things didn't change all too much, but I'm happy to say there was no need. The gameplay is smoother than it's ever been. Character combos are incredibly fun to put together now. There's so many unlocks for you to spend time doing. The character roster is massive with tons of things to try out. A majority of the broken mechanics have been patched, and most importantly of all, it's incredibly fun. Despite the fact that I had to get through so much of the game quickly to get this video out on time, that doesn't take away from how I had an incredibly fun time. Despite unlocking all the characters, I've barely had time to truly find out what they can do. There's so much left to do, and well, I want to keep playing. It's a feeling that's every fighting game creator's dream, to get players to want to play more. And gosh darn it, I really want to play more. Now, of course, the game isn't perfect. There's still no back throw or a way to break a throw. Certain characters are definitely still lower tier and experienced very little tuning compared to the rest of the cast. The animations clip through characters, the faces don't animate very much, and the game obviously isn't studio level. But again, this was all done by one guy, and it's a fully playable, fun fighting game. It might have some broken stuff, but truthfully, so does basically every fighting game. It's not exactly competitively viable, but it is dumb fun. To close out, I think that Force Combat's beta was indeed worth the wait. It positively changed so many characters, almost every new character is so much fun to play, added so much new offline content, and is filled with things for any Star Wars fan to be happy for. I'm giving this update a 9.6 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching this video. During the week I was playing the game for review, I worked alongside LastJawa to make a few small balance changes, like for example removing Han's blaster infinite, or you know, fixing a problem where it didn't save your progress if you quit the game, which is a pretty big one. To Jawa, if you're watching to this point, I want to say thank you for this gift. As a Star Wars fan and a fan of fighting games in general, it's everything I could have hoped for. I can't wait to see who ends up making the cut in future updates. If I could get a bit personal for a second, it feels really cathartic reviewing the game this year. Not only in the month I graduate with my bachelor's, but also while I'm currently working on my own fighting fan game with a fantastic team. All of that inspiration came from this incredible project, and I hope you all stick around for when it releases. One last time, a huge shout out to LastJawa for the review copy of the game and for all of the work he and his kids put into this. If the video does well and gets around 50 likes, I'll follow up with a guide on the best ways to gain XP for your characters to unlock all of their skins. I'd also potentially like to do a character prediction list for future updates on top of that if people are interested. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I'll see you all later. Bye bye!